You sound surprised.
Yeah, because I'm not doing that fine. I'm sort of down in the dumps. And
Why is that? Why is that? Tell me all about that.
I don't know. It's just got no energy, got no interest. One of those days, I guess.
So just today?
Yeah, just today. I've done work. I've got on with my work. I can discipline myself to get on with it, but without any enthusiasm, and that's like boring work. So talking about work, how's your new career going on?
It hasn't started yet. Well, it started in my mind, but it hasn't manifested.
That's what I mean. How's it coming on?
It's something I think about, but it hasn't materialized in this 3 dimensions as yet that I can ascertain. So.
But I'm sure you've used some of your imagination to imagine different aspects.
Yeah, I've been thinking about different possibilities. It's an interesting thing in one sense because I was reflecting on it driving home tonight, and I was sort of thinking, on the one hand, I don't want to find myself in a cycle of desire and then disappointment. But on the other hand, I do want to find myself on a pathway of betterment and impact, I think is probably the sort of words I'm looking for. So I'm not sort of desiring, outcomes for me, if that, like in terms of success or status or any of that sort of stuff. But I do have this strong sense at the moment that life is incredibly short, and I just want to make the best of the time that I have, so. So it's an interesting balancing act, and I find myself thinking about something, and I think, what are you even wasting your time thinking about that nonsense for?
So. That sort of thought. I mean, in thinking about this, you can't really think nonsense.
Oh, I think nonsense, yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose, like we are our own worst critics in some ways, but I think it's just, that reflective time when it's like, that I have this overpowering desire to go and do something, but there's still not an absolute clarity around what it is. So it's in some respects, I suppose it's just impatience, I guess, but that's something that I just need to continue to be impatient, but patient at the same time. Impatiently patient.
I guess also, when you get to our age, you think twice about a new idea that sort of comes to mind, and
yeah, you're tempted to sort of say, "Oh, well, it's too late now."
Yeah, that sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've well, up until the current time, I've just dismissed that idea as nonsense. So.
Yeah. Or do I really want to do that?
Well, there's always that part, and I think I'm fairly clear about I don't want to just start doing stuff because I can, based on my experience and skill set. I want to be fussy about what I allocate time and attention to, so.
and what you want to do, because
Yeah.
you want to do something already. I mean, that was evident last week when we discussed it.
Yeah.
You want to start something new. And I guess you've got so many options for yourself, based on your skills and experience.
Yeah, maybe. And as I said, it's one of those things about, like there's plenty of things I can do, but it's still in the process of distilling this. What is it that I must do?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, today for me, being down in the dumps, I've been thinking, what is it that really would excite me? What would challenge me? I like to be challenged. Okay, and then inevitably this sort of thought comes up, and that is, I like people. Okay, I like to interact with people, and that's just not possible physically. Okay, number one, because my visa doesn't allow it, unless I'm just socializing, and that's not the purpose there. I have to have a challenge, and the challenge, if successful, needs to be rewarded in some sort of way. And I don't mind it being rewarded financially, but other ways maybe too. And it's not the same doing it on Zoom or Skype or.
No, it's not at all.
Yeah. So that. So I think to myself, how different would my life be if I was back in my home country, okay? Where I can freely go and work, freely walk out, and and sort of pick up where I left off, and maybe start a little business or something. I don't know. These are the thoughts I've had today because I'm in the dumps, okay? And you
completely natural, and I would have thought also pretty much in direct response to the limitations that you find yourself under at the moment too. Like they're artificial, aren't they? They're not.
Yeah.
They're not real, but they are. So.
Yeah. Spot on. And now that I sort of, let's assume I've fully recovered from my health issues from last year. Now I want to get on with something, okay? And I don't know what it is.
It's interesting, isn't it? It really is interesting because I mean, like, we talked a fair bit last week and that about death and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it really is. Well, I guess part of it for me at the moment is that, okay, now that this has happened, what's next? And it's not about trying to replace what was there, but it's just like, what's next? So.
Yeah.
And in one sense, it's the same, not the same, but the same in one sense for you, and that you have all of these sort of circumstances around you, which limits what options that you can do at the moment. So.
Yeah, and it really does. Yeah. Then you think also about, well, is there really a purpose to carry on living?
That's a good question.
Yeah. And probably also what I'm doing now in the evening, particularly, is what I've never done in the past, that every single evening I'm watching television.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I do that because, Sue comes back from work, from her nursery school, and she's very tired physically.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, she's on her feet all day long, picking up 2-year-old children and feeding them and changing their nappies and stuff like that. So she's tired, and so she just wants to crash in her chair and watch something on TV. You see.
Yeah, just decompress. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, she says, she can go and watch television, in her bedroom or in her office, or because I would prefer to read. Okay. And for the last probably 2 weeks, I haven't had a book to read. Okay. And I've ordered one, but it's still only going to arrive at the beginning of May. And I can read in the evening, and instead of watching television, but I don't. Through company. So, but that's, I have a choice there, I guess. But yeah, you think, well, is it worthwhile living? Not that you can do anything about it at all. And so, yeah, I know that I would prefer.
It's a really good question, because like even as I said, as recent as tonight driving home, and I was sort of thinking, like, we've both read widely on lots of spiritual practices and spiritual priorities and things like that, and even when you think about the idea of enlightenment or advanced spiritual practice, where the invitation is to drop the idea of concepts and merge into the sort of pure consciousness, or merge with your soul and those sorts of things. It still begs the question, doesn't it? Like, so what do you do? And there's always these trite little sort of like Buddhist sayings that say, okay, after enlightenment, what next? And it's like, do the dishes and do the laundry, so, because it really is that sort of paradoxical thing, isn't it? In terms of there's still a strong yearning within us to, I suppose it's put meaning around stuff, isn't it? I guess, so to put meaning around things where there is no meaning, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So yeah.
But there is meaning,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then you see, I don't know if you saw what's going around on social media with the Dalai Lama, and it's worldwide. Did you see it?
Oh, I saw some snippet there about asking some kid to suck his tongue or something, wasn't it?
That's it. And I actually saw the video. It came up. And, yeah. And he's supposed to be a spiritual person. Maybe he is. Maybe we're judging him. Maybe that's the way of communication with the spirit. Who knows? Eh? But
got to wonder though.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me, how's it going with your son and renovating motor cars?
Yeah, no, we've had a couple of nice chats about, aspirations and intention and stuff like that. And I think it's, again, one of those things that we just come down to. We just got to start doing something, so.
Yeah, has he bought and renovated motor cars before?
He's got a couple of vehicles of his own, one in particular that he's owned for quite a while now, that he sort of slowly, does things to and that sort of thing, so.
Okay.
And I mean, they're quite a, well, since COVID anyway, they're quite an appreciating asset, really. You know, and for him, you know, his mindset is that, well, there's no real point in having any sort of degree of money in the bank because, you know, with inflation and that, it just keeps on going backwards.
Yeah.
And he's sort of saying that, well, other sort of forms of investment are quite unfulfilling and boring, and the risk profile is ridiculous. So he's sort of arriving at the idea about, well, why not do something that you actually enjoy, and you know, in the current environment and the foreseeable future is something that, you know, will pay you a dividend over time. You know, so and I concur with his point of view. You know, so
yeah.
I think one of the traps too in all of these sorts of things that we're talking about is that to try and not just focus down on one or two things. You know, I think it's important to try and have a broader outlook on things as well. You know, so when I think about, okay, well, what do I want to allocate my time and attention and resources to? It's not just about one thing. I think it's trying to get well, what do they say? You know, that the super wealthy always at a minimum have 7 sources of income. So, you know, so presumably 7 different areas of focus. You know, so
Yeah, that's I tend to concur now with that. I think previously in life, I think probably we focused on one form of income.
yeah,
We felt for a number of reasons, including spiritually, it was the right thing to do. Focus on one thing and achieve and be successful. But I tend to agree with you now. I think, and I have, you know, I've got now a couple of irons in the basket. And yeah, today none of them really enthuse me, but that's only today. I guess the moon is just in some sort of unusual position for me today. I don't know. And it's been a miserable day weather-wise too, really.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, it's chilly and it hasn't rained at all, but haven't seen the sun. It's been thick cloud the whole day. I think it's probably as a result of the tycoon, that cyclone, whatever you call it here in Australia, up north, where it's going to hit land sometime today or tomorrow, and
it certainly does bring a bit of gloom and depression with them, don't they? Because I mean, they're always low pressure systems, aren't they? So
yes,
maybe that has part of the physical effect as well.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, could well. Even though the cyclone is a long way away, it's still low pressure here, and, as well as there. So yeah, that's an interesting point. But yeah, so just coming back to the motor cars, because they've never interested me. And repairing or restoring anything has never been in psyche. And so if you had to imagine the ideal motor car to restore, you know, what would it be, a 19-foot sack Rolls Royce or something like that? Or
yeah, I'm in at a minimum 30 years old. You know, because that era of car tended to be made out of metal, like no plastic in it.
yeah, but weren't some of them, you know, even older than that, have wooden dashboards and things like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So you could, you know, bring your woodcraft into it.
And as you say, when you look at cars like, well, especially the English cars, like the Rolls Royces and those sort of things, there's quite a lot of wood in them.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, yeah. That's when I left you last week, and I was thinking about you during this week. I thought of a Rolls Royce, and I thought you would shine up that wood and carve some wood. Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad
Good
it's
thought.
ahead.
Good thought, actually.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. But talking about alternatives, you recall that a few months ago I was saying that I'm going to write children's stories.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and along came uh, the first two grandchildren that had when their birthdays came, and I wrote the story. And Sue said, "Oh, she would like to illustrate them or find pictures and so on." But so we walked around our forest around here in our park, and we took pictures, and then we used those pictures, and then she imported fairies and gnome things into those pictures. And it was fine. And then the third one is coming up, and I started writing, and I started sort of stumbling and thinking. And then I went to ChatGPT and I said, write me a preschool story for a young girl and include unicorns and elves and gnomes. Oh my God. Was that 10 times better than I could ever have written?
You think? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I thought, oh no, that's the end of my story writing, that's for sure. Yeah, and I can go back and do what you said, use the AI as a tool. But then what am I doing? Producing children's books written by the AI and illustrated by Sue. There's nothing fulfilling in that. And
how long a story did it produce?
it produced what turned out in when we did it on Publisher and page by page. It actually wrote in rhyme. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Okay, and it was really a beautiful story. And in Publisher, it came out to be 24 pages. One page was the image or the picture, and the other page was the writing. So I guess 12 pages of an A4 landscape. Okay. And so a decent length, just the right sort of length for a young child who's going to turn 1. No, she's going to turn 2 now. Yeah, going to turn 2, and so yeah. I mean, if I was going to make a business out of it, get ChatGPT to churn them out and publish them, yeah. But why? Okay, it must be a learning curve. It must be interesting. Like my cryptocurrency. I mean, I'm on a hell of a learning curve. Okay, and the company that I've finally chosen to deal with is Bitcoin XE, and they've got a library of videos and ebooks to learn from beginners upwards, as I said to you last week. And so whenever I've got a free moment, I tend to learn. But the AI does the investing, in the program. So I don't have to worry about investing. I've got to just think about it. Okay. And so, as I said to you before, what I've put in about $550, which or a little bit more than that, nearly $600. And it's now, because the AI chops off and chops and changes, and so it trades every week, okay? You know, all the various things that a human would have to learn, the AI's got it all in there. So you don't have to think about this trend coming and that trend coming and this trend crossing over with that trend, and then there's a third trend, and it does it automatically, you see. So humans that do that have to now think about all those things and make decisions. But yeah, the AI does it. And so, you know, my $600 now worth $1,200.
Oh, wow.
And that's just in, it was 1 month, about 6 weeks, okay? 6 weeks. So I find that intriguing and interesting. I don't have to do anything other than, you know, as I said, learn. And I now watch, okay? And I'm dealing with a guy in the company, and he sends me a WhatsApp almost on a daily basis, you know, chatting, and he's phoned me a couple of times, and so there's that human element, even be it, you know, on the end of social media. So that I've enjoyed, and so that works for me. And the advice that I've set myself, okay, from is, don't invest anything more than you are prepared to lose.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So if you lose the whole lot, okay, well, there is always that chance that you might be trebling or quadrupling your money anyway. So there's some sort of reward, a hell of a lot better than going to the lottery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the statistics for an AI doing this is very high to be successful. I must tell you, their statistics that they put out, that they do is really interesting. So yeah, so that there's an interest in there. As far as, you know, you were saying your son, well, you want to, you know, maybe have 7 incomes, you know, that's got to be one of mine. Is doing that. And I've resurrected my website. I don't know if you had a look at the new one.
No, not yet. No.
And I've resurrected my CRM, and I've started to write a couple of articles on health and emails on health, and I want to see where, you know, that takes me. I haven't got anything clear in my mind. Okay. I do have an affiliate with nanotechnologies.
Okay, so that started now, has it? Or?
That started, and as you know, it was created, the concept, and in the laboratories here in Australia on your side of the coast. But they went to South Africa to manufacture, and quite clever, I think, because the manufacturing there, compared to Australian manufacturing, is so much cheaper. Okay. But anyway, that started now, so I'm busy. I've had interaction with them, and I've set up some links, and I'm thinking about the whole marketing of that, and having my website.
So are they like dietary supplements? Are they, or?
Yeah, they've got 3 supplements that are available in Australia and 4 that are available in South Africa. I clearly would imagine, because they've only just launched now, that the one is a hemp oil product, and that's not available in Australia yet.
Right. Okay.
And So the other three are water soluble vitamin D, water soluble vitamin C, and curcumin as well. It's the word for it. You know what I mean. And so those are the three, probably the healthiest that you could have imagined that we start off with in a company. So yeah, there's a lot of that, and so my website at the moment, my mind is around writing articles about substances, natural substances, and the benefits of eating certain foods and so on, related to keeping your blood clean and neutral, so that's a sort of focus, because that's my focus in my life now. I've got to keep the blood flowing easily and cleanly, and my veins have got to start clearing themselves out, and the blockages that I do have, like the one I told you about 2 weeks ago, we've got a pinhole in the artery that leads into my brain, right side of my brain. I want to try and keep that pinhole open.
Yeah.
And so I'm very serious about researching, and I research every morning in bed to do with that, that aspect. So I'm probably, I guess, more knowledgeable than maybe the surgeons that operate on you, but I have a desire to really help people in that area. So what I'm telling you is actually telling myself, you've got to focus more on that area, because I do have a passion for it. That comes out of history, but also comes out of very recent blocked arteries.
I'll tell you what comes to mind, just listen to your talk too. In one sense, it's also about, there's a point where you might feel, overwhelmed and helpless about, the condition that you've found yourself in, or whatever. But the most important thing is how you move beyond that. How you move beyond helplessness to helping yourself.
Yeah. And that might be part of it, helplessness.
Well, I mean, it seems to me like in lots of aspects of life, these things happen. Things happen, whether it's health or some other sort of turmoil that visits your door, and I think that's the natural initial response, is this feeling of helplessness. Like, what the hell do I do? What can I do? So
yeah, that's spot on. That you're absolutely right. And that's why, every single morning I'm researching, because I'm saying to myself, how can I help myself?
And we're fortunate to live in an age where we have access to, well, virtually infinite information, don't we?
Yeah, we do, and especially to that more obscure information, and that's difficult to find on when you're asking Siri or somebody like that, because they, you've got to have a little bit hook on some of that obscure information in order to get Siri to go and look somewhere else other than Healthline or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just the mainstream stuff. Yeah,
there's all the mainstream stuff. And that's difficult. That's difficult, because where do you get it? Because no matter where you go, you're going to find the mainstream stuff. You go to ChatGPT, it's always the mainstream stuff. So you've got to find just words. That's all you need, is something like, for example, I mean, this affiliate product. Let me just get it here. Okay, it's I don't know where is. There it is there. So it's Kuckerman, and let me just see. It's really It's got frankincense extract, cloves extract, rosemary extract, turmeric. That's the main one. Turmeric oil. Okay, black pepper extract, and monk fruit, and the list carries on there. So you take the most important ingredient, and let's say turmeric, and you research turmeric, and you're absolutely amazed. I mean, it's not that I used to research turmeric. I used to take turmeric when still living in the previous country, and I didn't know that it's actually not water soluble. So I was taking tablets, and most of it I used to just poo out, okay, because it couldn't get absorbed into the blood.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So this here in Australia now, they've solved that with technology, with nanotechnology. They've now have made it into a substance, those pure natural substance. There's no chemicals or artificial additives, so that your body can actually absorb this turmeric. So it's those sort of things are fascinating. Then if you've got a hook like that, you can now start searching, and you can get. So I've got to find ways of coming across something that takes me to the obscure, and
it's almost like you need like a non-mainstream
AI.
well either that or a search engine that's doesn't have an algorithm which sort of is skewed towards high traffic sites or anything like that, so
yeah, but how? Where do you find something like that? I can't even find a book, because when I'm searching for a book, I can't think of the right words to put in the search to see what comes up. So I go to, let's say, Audible, and trying to put there, and still it comes up with the mainstream popular books, and of course Amazon always does. Amazon is so manipulative. So yeah, and we don't have any bookshops sort of. I know there's one in the Perth city centre, but that's
but they're all sort of, again, mainstream popular sellers, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And yeah. So, but it's a challenge, and I'm up to it basically every morning that I wake up, and then by the time I get up and get prepared, because there are quite a lot of tasks that I do before I settle down to work, and around the house, as part of the house. I then, and now demotivated to start. And from that motivated waking up point and looking and searching, and sometimes I get demotivated in bed because I just can't come up with anything because I've only got Siri.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Yeah,
it's
it's an interesting issue, isn't it? Really.
yeah,
and one that also symptomatically is something that we need to be aware of too, in the sense that even with AI, I guess that there's always a risk that it's just going to pump all the mainstream stuff to us, isn't it? So.
But something else happened with ChatGPT, and that just happened now over the weekend. My brother, his birthday's on. He made a statement to me. His birthday's on the 22nd of April. Okay, and he was born in 1946, and he said he wonders when last Easter Monday fell on the day that he was born, which was Easter Monday, the 22nd. Okay. And I said, well, we'll ask ChatGPT, okay? And it was wrong. It lied, in actual fact. Okay?
Really?
It lied, okay? If you can, I use that with, if a human had told me that, I would have said, you liar, man. Okay? And the reason being, he said, the ChatGPT said, Easter Monday had never fallen on April the 22nd. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. Okay. And when it came up, my brother and I were doing this together. He was online and I was, and he was horrified. He said, God, my mother told me, or our mother told him that he was born on Easter Monday. And I jokingly said, well, maybe it was Easter Monday, but when your dad went to register, our dad went to register, all you could remember was Easter Monday, so he put the wrong date in or something like that, and and then I thought, no, wait a minute, okay, it's easy enough, because there's another route, and that is just take your calendar. You can get a calendar and just go backwards on it, which I did, and there. In 1946, April the 22nd, that was Easter Monday. Okay. And my brother said in his lifetime, there was also one within the last 10 years, you can't quite remember when it was, and that's Easter Monday as well. So GPT, just where did they get that nonsense from? And so that horrified me, because I thought, and it also made me think of something that just a month or so ago, I asked it, because I was going to start growing, well, I've always grown microgreens, but in the summer it's just very difficult. So I sort of, I gave it a break for about a month, and so I went back. I wanted to start growing now, and I asked ChatGPT, how do you grow microgreens? Now I've got masses of information on that, and it came up with something very simple, and I questioned it a bit, and it's still simple. I thought, okay, let me try that. Okay, I'll do it. And I was, sharing this with Sue, and so I went. And anyway, not a single microgreen sprouted doing it the ChatGPT way. Okay, not single. And I thought, this is disgusting. So I immediately, about a week ago, went back to, my old method, and now I've got masses of sprouts growing up in, I had a mobile camera. Would take you to show you them, and and all the trays. I did 5 trays the first time and 5 trays the second time. Not one the first time. Okay. And there were fundamental issues. I mean, you don't grow microgreens, so there's no use telling you what they were. But yeah, so now that was like 2 things in a month. My brother's stuff and my microgreens, and I thought, I don't know where this ChatGPT is coming from or going to. Okay.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's sort of, people following it blindly too, because you think about like when, the technology and software in aircraft these days, the pilot doesn't really fly the plane anymore. The software flies the plane. And you say, well, why have we got pilots? Oh, well, we've got to keep an eye on it. We've got, for the unexpected.
That's one of the reasons, but the other reason is that nobody will fly without a pilot.
Yeah, that's right. But there's still a view that you can't rely on it 100%. So,
I think when it comes to things like driverless motor cars and pilots and things, that's very, very different to, if you take the ChatGPT, it wrote a lovely nursery story. Okay? It really was great. Okay? And it's written articles for me, business articles, as I told you about that. So I've taken the creativity out of me. So it I think that's the benefit of something like ChatGPT, is that it's got a business background. Its background sound is like built by Microsoft engineers. Okay.
But presumably the AI that they're using for your crypto must be a completely different style of AI, though.
Oh yes, but every AI is. You see, the factory AI to the motor car AI to the flight AI. They all come from a different background. Okay. So definitely. So I think, and that's why ChatGPT hasn't been updated with data since about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's what my understanding was. It was like 2021 or 22 or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. And so,
which is a long time.
It's a long time, and a hell of a lot has happened. And I tested it. I said, what was the one I tested it with? But anyway, I said, 2023, can you give me the latest on whatever, business to business strategies? Okay. And it opened up saying, I was last updated as an AI in 2021. So I can't give you the latest, but I can tell you what, I can answer your question, but not for 2023. And it went ahead and answered it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's an interesting age in which we live, isn't it, at the moment, and with some of these sorts of issues floating around.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible age. No, I think we'll look back, not us, but not even our or maybe our grandchildren will look back on this and see this as the equivalent as we saw the Industrial Revolution. Whatever they call this, I don't know what they'll call it, but maybe AI revolution or something like that, or artificial something or another. Because it's definitely going to turn the world in another direction altogether. And I just hope to God, can you imagine all your war equipment, from outer space missiles to high-speed missiles to jet planes to everything being unmanned, totally unmanned, and somebody sitting somewhere under a mountain, busy playing war games, but in real time. It's
that. Then you're absolutely right, because that is such a dangerous thing, because it's such a disconnection from the reality, isn't it? It's an artificial reality.
Absolutely. It is the equivalent to the metaverse. Okay. You put goggles on and you go into another space altogether, where you see people absolutely vividly, and you shake hands with them, and now you're in a fighter plane.
I saw or read somewhere the other day, someone made this little comment. They said, the strange thing about life, is like when you're playing a computer game, they shoot 'em up computer games. You can kill as many people as you like, and the game continues. But as soon as someone shoots you, it's game over.
Yes, that's true. I haven't thought about that. Yeah.
It's an interesting subject matter we've transversed there tonight.
Yeah.
All interconnected too, so yeah.
Yes.
Lots of food for thought there.
Yeah. If you come up with any brilliant ideas of how I can search for the things that are important, that are not mainstream.
Well, years ago, and I mean like years ago, I suppose before Google dominated the search engine space, but there were these other search engines. I think one of them was called like Web Crawler, and one was like Web Spider or something, or Spider Web or something. And they were alternative search engines, that presumably had a different algorithm or search methodology, that they weren't just focused on the high traffic areas,
Okay. Yeah, that's true. I can remember some of them.
And you'd have to think that them, or versions of them, or even completely new things, must still be available.
Yeah, that's true, but even you come to mind some of the popular companies, their websites are also search engines. I'm just trying to think where I saw that. Was it commerce.com? Anyway, yeah, that's an idea. Start searching. I haven't done that before. I haven't searched for an alternative. Because I have been trying to fiddle with Bing, but again, it's it's just another Google in the.
It's a different style of search engine. It sort of needs a different approach to it a little bit, because just in my limited experience with it is that I know that they've got, if you use it with Microsoft Edge, which is the Microsoft version of the browser, so instead of Chrome you use Microsoft Edge, and when you use Bing on that, it does deliver some different results. But it presents it in a different way too. So you can't sort of go into it with what you're used to with Google as to how Google presents information. It presents it in a different format.
Yeah.
So it sort of requires a different way to sort of interpret what it's providing to you.
Yeah, I've been trying it, but I can't get it on my phone for the mornings. But I've got it on my desktop, and it's also Bing also, it's available on Skype. Okay, I've connected it now, but I can't imagine. I haven't tried it yet. I connected it about a week ago, and
well, Skype is owned by Microsoft, I think, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know why they put a Bing on. So I wanted to find out. I'm still going to find out. The next time we talk, I'll have experimented a bit with it to see what it does, because it's obviously geared for something that relates to Skype. I think everyone is going to be different. I don't think Bing will be Bing, like Google is Google. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's some interesting things going on there. Because you'd have to assume that Google's doing something in the AI space as well, wouldn't you? You know, I mean,
yeah,
it'd have to be.
Oh, it is. It's doing bad, and that looks very interesting. But it's not freely available. Certain people, you can get a sort of a free version to test, as long as you test and give feedback and so on. Don't particularly want to support Google. Not that I want to support Microsoft, but we've got no alternatives other than like open source stuff. That's why I thought chat would be nice. It started off as open source. Yeah.
But as you know, that landscape can change very quickly, can't it? You know, someone comes and offers $10 billion, and all of a sudden it's no longer.
Yeah.
Very strange. Okay, my friend. Well, that might be a good spot to and think about things.
Yeah. As usual, it's been a great chat. Thanks very much.
It's been very thought-provoking and inspiring and everything. So yeah, for sure.
I thought I would, before we joined up, I thought, should I contact you and call it off, because I'm so down in the dumps. It'll make you down in the dumps. But instead, it's picked me up. So thank you.
No, it's good. That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, then. Talk to you next week.
Yep. Cheers.
See you now. Bye.